We thought there was a surplus, but the data actually shows there was something much bigger. It wasn't just property taxes that came in over budget revenue. It was multiple revenue categories in year after year. Let's dive in. Every year, there is a budget that is set. That includes what amount is expected to receive as revenue. That includes property taxes, sales tax, fees, and other items. Then the year happens, and we will compare what actually came in to what was expected in the budget. So for 2015, our budgeted amount of $197 million in revenue by $207 million being actually received. That is over $10 million more than what was planned. In 2016, the budget amount was for $200 million in revenue. Our revenue actually received was $210 million. That's another $10 million that should be in the bank. In 2017, our budgeted amount was for $210 million in revenue. Our actual received was $225 million. That's another $15 million received more than what was planned. So in 2018, our budget was set for $215 million in revenue, and our actual number, $230 million. In 2019, our budgeted amount was set for $220 million, and we actually received $228 million. Now that is still over budget by $8 million, but we know we had tornadoes that hit many of our communities and multiple homes that were lost, and that revenue impact was certainly felt, but we still received more than what was planned. Now at this point, someone out there is going to say, well, those are just small variances. Okay, that's fair. Let's keep going. In 2020, our budgeted revenue to receive was $230 million. Actual revenue received was $247 million. That's $17 million over. In 2021, we budgeted for $240 million to be received. Actual came in at $266 million. That's $26 million more than what was expected. Now, we are no longer talking about small differences. We are seeing larger gaps. And in 2022, we budgeted for $250 million, and our actual revenue came in at $270 million. That's $20 million over. Then 2023 came in. Our budget was set for a $300 million revenue. Our actual came in at $378 million. That is a $78 million difference in favor of revenue that's been generated. That is not a rounding error, and that is not a small variance. That is a huge, major gap. In 2024, our budget was set to receive $310 million in revenue. In actuality, we received $387 million. That's $77 million over what was expected. So let's step back. This did not happen once. It didn't happen twice. It happened every single year for the last 10 years that we received more revenue than what was budgeted, planned for, or expected. And that all adds up. It's over $277 million more in revenue that our county received than what they had budgeted for. And remember, this was not just all property taxes, because property taxes made up $42 million of that revenue in surplus. But the other revenue categories also had increased revenue, and that is by $235 million more. from sales tax, from fees, from our investment income. That's a big difference. So the system didn't just bring more money in, it brought in significantly more money than what was expected, year after year. Now here's the question. If the budget was based on what was needed and more came in, why didn't taxpayers see any relief? And why wasn't the tax burden reduced? Why wasn't money set aside? Instead, what we continue to see and what we're going to dive into next is spending increased. Right alongside that revenue increase, our spending continued to go up and up. So at some point, this is no longer about do we have enough revenue? It is about spending, and that starts with a decision. So remember, you do have a decision to make. Do you keep the same people doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome? Or do you ask the really hard questions and demand accountability now? Because when this happens once, that's a variance. When it happens year after year, that's a pattern. And when the pattern continues without any change, that is a lack of accountability. This isn't just a surplus. It's a system windfall, one that allows taxpayer money to be spent without the usual guardrails of a true check and balance budget system, the kind that should return overpayments. And as I've shown, we're not just talking about small dollars. We are talking about over $277 million collected in the last 10 years, more than what was planned. When I break that down, that's $1,200 per household. And that surplus could have been returned to our taxpayers of the county. In our next episode, we are going to dive into what was the money spent on. What is the actual spending that is taking place year after year that has absorbed $277 million in unplanned, unexpected, windfall surplus money from our taxpayers. I'll see you then.